All right, first and foremost, want to welcome everyone out. Give yourselves a hand for at least showing that you're part of the government process. My name is Brian O'Brien with 106.3 FM. I am out of Bell County, but I'm glad to be here in Knox County. I know we have a lot of listeners in this area. The reason that I'm here is because I saw a need for something like this to happen. I noticed that the last major debate was moved to a smaller room that didn't allow for the public to be there. I think that is a shame. You should never alienate those who are going to be voting for these folks that are responsible for our money and making decisions that affect our area. Before we do any of the formalities, I want to say that there's been a great turnout. If you'll take a look to your right here, you will see a big old collection of food and clothing, and there's been some cash donated for the Family Resource Center, and that's first and foremost. What we're doing here is secondary, so let's have a hand for everybody who's given to that. Also want to say a big thank you to Alan and his crew for allowing us to use this facility to hold the amount of people that we have here this evening. And as premier parties, also want to say hello to Parkway Service Center and all the folks with the sound and everything we've done. Give them a hand as well. And now the formal part. As a community, we should be diligent in making sure we question those who will represent our neighborhood and our region. We have a civic duty to hold accountable those in public office by asking how they will be responsible for not only the best decisions, but for our money as taxpayers. We thank those who have chosen to participate in this forum and who stand before you or sit before you to answer questions. Mr. Mike Warren is here with us. Mr. Darren West is here. Notably absent are Mr. J.M. Hall, Mr. David Thompson, and Gary Williams. All five men have been given the invitations to be here. The other three have neglected or have chosen not to be here. If you want to base your vote on that, you're more than welcome to, but you should know the issues that are facing our community. These two gentlemen that are with us today are going to sit here and answer questions that have been provided by the community and general questions about the jobs that they may or may not get. There's a good chance that these could be the gentlemen who are making decisions for our county, and I think it's important that we know where they stand on certain things. Now, because there are two separate offices here, there's no need for a coin toss. Because there are two separate offices, there's no need to go back and forth about the different offices. We will ask them questions that pertain to each office, and we will do so hoping that they have about 2 or 3 minutes to answer. Both of these gentlemen seem to be very knowledgeable about the offices they are seeking. And before we do anything else, I'll give both of them an opportunity to say hello to you and introduce themselves. To my immediate left is Mr. Mike Warren. Mike, if you will introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit about what you stand for.
Certainly. As he said, I'm Mike Warren. A lot of people know you as Michael, but I prefer to be called Mike. That's a change that's kind of come along as I got older, but I'm just tickled to death with the turnout. I'm highly disappointed that my opponent is not here tonight. No better opportunity than this in an open forum for the community to find out something about me and something about my opponent, what we stand for, what we believe in, and what our plans are for the future of our county. So again, it's a good cause, and I'm just tickled to death to be here. Good crowd. I want to thank Alan, James, the sound people, and Brian O'Brien for his efforts. My life's pretty much an open book. It has been for a long time, so whatever you want to ask, feel free to ask. Thank you.
And for those of you who are watching at home, I'll give you an opportunity to know here shortly how you can see this debate as it's loaded up on our social media. Also have a chance to hopefully get it on Channel 4 here in the Barbourville area. And of course, Mr. Warren is running for Judge Executive. Mr. West is running for Mayor. Mr. West, if you'll tell folks about yourself, please.
Thank you. My name is Darren West. I have been mayor since April. We had a disagreement with the former mayor and something about taxpayer dollars being used correctly, and so therefore he's no longer in office, and subsequent to the council vote, I am. It is disappointing that he, along with Councilman Gary Williams, chose not to show up. I kind of feel like a bride who stood up at the altar. This has happened twice to me now, where I don't have them to discuss the issues. And all jokes aside, with the things going on in our city, where we're trying to grow, trying to make things different, we do want to, it is disappointing that we don't have people here to discuss the issues. Whether you disagree or not, the issues should be laid out on the table. You folks have the right to know. So that's why I'm here tonight.
All right, now what I've done is I've taken questions that I've received in other debates that I've done and kind of tailored it to the fact that we have two gentlemen here who are running for two different offices. This is going to be more like a forum, not necessarily a debate, where they will answer questions about their subsequent offices that they're running for. So I'll give you a quick definition of each of their offices so you kind of know, because there's some people who may not know what a judge executive actually does, may not know what a mayor is responsible for. This is all in accordance with Kentucky revised statutes, okay? As far as the county judge executive, he shall be the chief executive of the county and shall have all the powers and perform all the duties of an executive and administrative nature vested in or imposed upon the county or its fiscal court by law, or by agreement with any municipality or other subdivision of government, and such additional powers as are granted by the fiscal court. The county judge executive shall be responsible for the proper administration of the affairs of the county placed in his charge. As far as the mayor is concerned, the mayor in the city is the city manager, plan, outside of position as a member of the Board of Commissioners. He's only their head of the city. He is explicitly stating that he aside from being recognized as the head of government by the governor for the purposes of military law, the mayor, shall have no regular administrative duties. The only duty of the mayor outside the position as a member of the board is to administer oaths and to make make and execute all bonds, notes, contracts, and written obligations authorized by the board. As a member of the board, the mayor is the presiding officer, okay? A lot of times in government, we think that certain offices have a certain amount of power. That is what the Kentucky revised statutes state, and each man here is also responsible for money to a certain degree. We'll find out as the forum goes along just how much. Our first question is going to go to the judge executive candidate. Mr. Warren, as judge executive, I will tailor it to the mayor here shortly. As judge executive, what is the most difficult issue facing Knox County that you see if you were to be elected?
That pretty much for me, in my philosophy, that's pretty much a no-brainer, Brian. The number one issue that I see is jobs. Our present judge executive has been in office for almost 8 years. And all I have seen for that 8 years is an exodus of jobs going out. We're not bringing any jobs in. One of the reasons why we're not bringing any jobs in is because we're not recruiting jobs. We're not trying to bring jobs into our county. I firmly believe that jobs, and we have a lot of problems, but I firmly believe that jobs solves all of our problems. Is that time? No. What?
That sounded a lot like it.
I really think jobs solves all of our problems. May not solve them overnight, but it will eventually solve all of our problems. If you have jobs in your county, you suddenly have property that's valued at more than what it is now. People actually want to move here and live here because they can find work and they can raise their family. As your tax base goes up, your infrastructure improves, and hopefully, if you've got a judge executive and a fiscal court that's on their toes, the services is going to improve to your county. We have a problem in Knox County with our schools. You know, every time I pick up the paper and they have test scores, our schools are struggling. It's no secret why. Research time and time again has shown that socioeconomic factors are a direct influence on student performance. So if we want to improve our schools, we need to bring jobs, as silly as that might sound. Bring jobs in, let's generate some tax dollars, let's support our schools. Every problem that we have starts with jobs. I personally want to do one thing. First and foremost, I want to hire an industrial recruiter. We have a judge executive at the present time, and let me tell you, the job pays really, really good. If you can look at the statute, a judge executive draws about $90,000 a year salary. It's not bad for Knox County, is it?
No.
He's got a deputy judge that's making almost $70,000. He's got a deputy judge making almost $70,000 because he's not capable of doing the job. So he hired someone else to do it. It's just that simple. $100,000 and I want to cut half of it out and I want to hire a young professional, someone, and I say young because the first thing I think of is I don't necessarily want a family person. I want a young professional. I'm going to put them on the road. They're either going to be on the phone or on the road recruiting jobs and industry to our county. And the reason I say a young person, because family people don't necessarily need to be on the road 3 or 4 days a week. But we can take half of that salary, we can employ an industrial recruiter. I also want to partner with the city of Barbourville, and if Darren is the mayor, I'll pass this on to him right now. I've already talked to the mayors in Williamsburg, in London, and Corbin. I've also talked to the county judge executives in Whitley County and the county judge executive David Westerfield in Laurel County. If we form a tri-county allowance, Knox, Laurel, and Whitley, we speak for 145,000 people. When you speak for 145,000 people, you can walk up to Frankfurt, and guess what? They will hear you. They will answer. They will respond. I've been here all my life, 62 years, and all my life I've been hearing about how we're a poor mountain county. We don't have this, and we don't have that, and we can't compete, and we can't compete. We can't do that. We're not big. Let me tell you something. We can compete with anybody anywhere. Knox Countyans have a work ethic that is beyond reproach. Our kids are as good as anybody's kids, and they can compete anywhere.
Thank you, sir. I've not given either man a major, very tight time schedule because we're not in debate format. But had I, it would have been 3 minutes. I'm not going to hold you to that.
I'm sorry.
No apology necessary. No apology necessary. All right, we're going to tailor the same question, Mr. West. As mayor, what do you see as the most difficult issue facing Barbourville should you be elected?
Obviously, it's jobs. Mike had said that jobs do have the ability to solve many, many problems. First of all, I do have a point of order correction, though. When you gave my introduction as mayor, you gave the mayor, city manager form of government?
Yes.
That is not what we have in Barbourville.
It's not? Okay.
No, which is fine. Corbin has that, and I think Millsboro has that, but there are 6 different types of city government in the state. What we have in Barbourville is the most common. It is the mayor-council form of government. Why I point that out is that as mayor-council form of government, the mayor does have the full executive authority. We don't have anybody else hired on to kind of run the role as mayor. I kind of kid Mayor McBurney and Corbin. He's kind of like the Queen of England, where he doesn't have a whole lot of authority. He just kind of looks good standing there and waving. Of course, he takes that well. But with the mayor in Barbourville, as jobs are created, I have the full authority to hire and fire at the city government. And one of the things that we looked at, though, as far as hiring and firing, one thing you have to do in order to create positions is you do have to go through the council. So I asked the council 3 separate times to create an industrial authority for Barbourville this last 3 months. Each time I was met by one particular councilman, I'll let you guess who that is, who stonewalled and didn't want it done. He asked for different corrections and things that weren't even appropriate to state law, but nonetheless, our attorney went back and tried to make some corrections, thus costing the city money, thus costing more time. And so as it's come about 3 separate times asking the council for an industrial authority, we have yet not got one. So I found that there's a way around that. And the way around that is through our tourism commission. We actually have 3 tourism members here, Scott Klaus, Tamara Sanborn, and we also have Larry Kane. Thank you all very much for showing up, by the way, and your interest. What we do have here is through the Main Street project that we have through tourism, they can do industrial development. And so I've sent Denise Wainscott, who's in charge of our tourism and Main Street program, to look at doing industrial development through that. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yes, certainly jobs is the way to go.
Okay. And if you would like to, at the end of any point that's made, if you'd like to applaud for each candidate, you're more than welcome to, showing your support for them. As you can see, this gentleman is very well informed, and it's always good to have a well-informed candidate. No apologies necessary, none whatsoever. All right, we're going to go on to our next question. We're going to go back to you, sir. Mr. West. The mayor's office should be transparent should have an open door policy.
Mhm.
Does that happen at your office?
Yes. The mayor's office, because it only does pay $1,000 a month, I have to have another job. I mean, there's no way around that. That's the way it was designed years and years ago. That's something I'm looking to change. Once elected, looking to change the budget around to allow for a real salary for a mayor. Now, people may say, they may look and say, well, listen, this is kind of a statesman type volunteer job. Well, you know, if the judge executive, by state law, judge executive starts out around $70,000 and then works their way up, I think it's only fair to ask the mayor of a city to do somewhat the same, although it has to be done by the council. As far as transparency, yes, on our website we do have the vendor list that is available for last fiscal year as well as this quarter. It is available on the city's website. I also look to be available, as I am available, on Facebook, on Twitter, on email, and by cell phone, if you can't reach me at the office. Also, the ladies at the office, my city clerk and assistant city clerk and the administrator are also very good at getting me messages and returning phone calls. If for some reason I missed a phone call, I am sorry. I'll try to get back with you. But yes, we do make that as transparent as possible. Any questions that are asked, we answer the best that we can.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Warren, if you were to be elected, the office of Judge Executive is one that should be transparent. Do you believe that will be the way your office is run?
Absolutely. As I said earlier, my life's pretty much an open book. I've been in and out of public life for a long time, so most everybody knows everything about me, be it good or be it bad. I think transparency in government is maybe the #1 issue in my race. Now, in response to your earlier question, jobs is the #1 issue facing this county. But the #1 issue in our government, in my race, is transparency.
Yes, sir.
It's a given. My opponent is not here tonight. It doesn't take a genius to figure out why. He doesn't want to be transparent. He doesn't want you to know what's going on in that office. I have a gentleman here who I had the honor of defeating narrowly, I might add, in the primary, Dennis Gibson. Very good friend of mine and a staunch supporter. And I tell you what Dennis has done for the last 7 months. He's been trying to get records from the judge's office concerning the amount of money that the judge has paid to his family. Now, 7 months later, and with an order from the Attorney General's office, he still does not have that information. And obviously, there's no transparency in the judge's office. It's not just that incident, but time and time again, we learn of different projects that suddenly appear, and they have been in the works for months and months and months, but nobody knows anything about them until the project has come to fruition and someone has bought a piece of property or sold a piece of property. That's not transparency, folks. That's not transparency. If you're not doing anything wrong, that's great. But open it up and let people know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Barbourville and Knox County, both losing money to adjoining counties for things like restaurants, big box stores, and simple services that are already offered here. What do you do to fix that problem, sir?
Well, I think it goes back, Brian, to the first question we've got. We've got to have jobs. You know, we're losing money to adjoining counties. Nobody's coming here to spend their money. You know, it goes without saying, whether you're dealing on a global level with the United States and China, you know, they have trade laws that basically say what goes out's got to come back in. We won't let you trade more with China than what China buys from us. We don't have that at the local level. We don't have a law that says that people in Knox County, you can only go to Corbin and spend so much money in Whitney County equal to what they come over here and spend. So, you know, we can sit here and cry about it if we want to, but the bottom line, we're not offering anything for them people to come here and spend. We've got, what, one motel, Larry? One motel? restaurants, primarily fast food restaurants. We're not going to attract a whole lot of people like that. You know, one of the things that we really need to do, and Darren's really into it and doing a lot of great things with the tourism, is every time I go to Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, I have the same question every time I go there. I look around and I say to myself, what in the heck did these people have here that we don't have in Barbourville before they got this? They developed a multi-million-dollar, possibly a billion-dollar operation in a place in the middle of nowhere. We have everything they have. We're, what, 25 minutes from Laurel Lake, the #1 bass fishing spot in the world. We've got the same culture and the arts and the crafts in Knox County, Kentucky that they have in Sevier County, Tennessee. I would like to see literally a train load of hotels, motels, tourist attractions from I-75 in Corbin all the way to the Tennessee line to the tunnel. We can support it as well as anybody. We have the opportunity to put in riding trails, you know, and this has become, I'm not a four-wheeler, but obviously it's big business. Yeah, it's big business. You try going down to exit 29 at Corbin at the Pilot on a Friday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, and you'll get run over by the four-wheelers heading toward Bell County and Harbin, so to ply their trade. So we can compete. We can bring those dollars back home, but we got to do something to earn them. We can't sit here and twiddle our thumbs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. West, same question. Barbourville and Knox County are losing money to adjoining counties for things like restaurants, big box stores, and simple services that are already offered here. What do you do to fix that problem?
I think Mr. Warren's been reading my notes.
I got a copy of them.
You know, I came on council last year as my first elected office, and ever since then looking to see what we can do, and it's something that, in fact, I've been talking about for the last 10 years with people. From being president of the Chamber of Commerce to founding member of the Kentucky Harvest Southeast, where we come together to help raise food, just like for Central Elementary, help start the backpack program there in Flat Lake, as well as other things. But when talking about people, we look at, for instance, Gatlinburg, Sevierville, Pigeon Forge. You know, 30, 40 years ago, they were just like us, and then somebody got this idea of, you know, let's make a few tourist attractions. You know, we have this Great Smoky Mountains over here, let's make some tourist attraction out of that. And then, by the way, does anybody know a country singer that we can bring in over here? That's kind of, you know, Dolly Parton's been really instrumental to that area over there, and so if we had a country singer, maybe that'll help us out too. But really, they've grown, and it's not, you know, you go from one town to the next and you can't tell where one ends and one begins. There's no reason that from London, Corbin, or, you know, Barbourville, Pineville, Millersboro, there's no reason why we can't be just like that, all the way to the tunnel, and maybe even through the tunnel. You know, one of the things that I'm working on now, and I'll go ahead and start advertising it, is 25E yard sale. Has anyone heard of that? Yeah. 25E yard sale started out in Madison County. It's worked its way down a little bit, and I got an email from a guy in Richmond who said, hey, is Barbourville interested? Do you think Barbourville will be interested? And I said, heck yeah. I said, I don't even yard sell that much, but I bet I can find some people to do that kind of thing. And so next June, I believe it's the second week in June, we'll be participating. Barbourville will be participating in the 25E yard sale. Now, a big part of this is, just like the other yard sales that you see throughout the nation, people go through small towns. And when they go through small towns, they get to see what is going on in those small towns. Perhaps we can work with tourism, Larry, and maybe even bring in some more events for that time period. Some things that we're also looking at, venture tourism. Scott's been very good at helping us. Tamara's been very good at helping us with the venture tourism. We kicked off the canoe race for Daniel Boone, and we're going to be looking at more things at the river. It's called Trail Town. There's only 4 trail towns right now in the state of Kentucky in our Commonwealth, and so we're looking to be the 5th. We've had visits from people in Frankfurt who want to make trail towns and who are in charge of that kind of thing, and so we're looking to grasp a hold of that. So in order to build up, and I think what we bring jobs is also tourism. It's kind of a chicken and egg type scenario. We got to bring people here. whether jobs, whether tourism, maybe a little bit of both.
So may I say one thing too, in keeping with what Darren said? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, but I go to a little Baptist church up at Big Richland called New Bethel. And I don't mean to sound prideful, but we just have such a huge number of talented people in our church. And then when I go other churches, I find the same thing. There's just talent throughout our county. And when I look around this crowd and the couple of guys that I saw here earlier, Charlie Bays, Red Hamilton, let me tell you something. We're full of talent in our county. It's not just the culture, but I would love to see a music palace, something that would feature nothing but local talent Friday night, Saturday night. Do gospel music one night, do country music the next. I think that people will come and pay to do that. Thank you.
Now, shortly we're going to get to your questions here in the audience. Looks like we have a lot of participation. We'll do that here in just a moment. This is for both gentlemen. We'll go back to Mr. West since he actually answered last. If you had the power to change one thing about Barbourville for the better, what would it be?
Our people. Our people are great at what we are. Our people are wonderful. We're hardworking. But one of the things that we're not good at, I think, is the help of one another. And what I mean by that is that people who are willing to give a helping hand instead of laying down. And if you notice, of course, we're all different here, and that's a big part of this debate, or this forum rather. Here Mike and I are willing to talk about the issues. And what we do have is, unfortunately, we have people who rather talk behind people's backs. People who rather go to social media, people who rather hide behind things than talk about the issues as they are. So, as great as people we have here are hardworking people, we'd like to figure out a way to make the others change. And of course, you talking to your friends, you talking to other people might actually help them do that. In other words, if we quit talking down about each other, then we can lift each other up. And then when we do that, we can make the community a better place. What a better place for people to work and people to come from all parts of the country when they know that everyone here is for one another and not against one another.
Mr. Warren, if you had the power to change one thing about Knox County for the better, what would it be?
I'd probably change judges, but I kind of like what Darren said. You know, we have a room full of concerned citizens in this room right now, and you're to be commended for being here. But you are definitely in the majority. Not everybody is as concerned about our county and about the future of our children as the people in this room. So many of our folks are willing to just follow along and maintain status quo. It seems like, I hate to sound like a socialist. I'm a Democrat, but not a socialist. But, you know, it seems like so much of our wealth is controlled by such a small group of people, and the rest of us are pretty much left to just fend for ourselves. So I would like to see more people like the people in this room stand up and be counted and take action and do something about the things that are going on in our county.
I have to say, I've never been a part of a funny debate, and that answer was very interesting.
Well, you said one thing.
I'm not allowed to show any bias. Okay, back to Mr. Warren. One of the duties of Judge Executive is be responsible to the taxpayers for money taken in and then spent responsibly. Do you have a plan to do so?
Well, it's a real simple proposition. It doesn't take a plan to know that you guard taxpayer monies. Anytime you receive monies under any type of fiduciary duty, it is your responsibility to guard those monies. Now, as a judge executive, you have to be a good steward of those monies. I'm a firm believer that that taxes are necessary. We don't necessarily like taxes, but they are necessary. But the ideal behind the government is simply this: collect taxes and provide services in return for those taxes. People that pay taxes don't mind paying taxes if they're getting services.
That's right.
But when you don't provide services, and I remember attending a rally a few years ago when a candidate for judge executive started talking about the rainy day fund that he had established and how much money they had on hand. And I said point blank, that's wrong. That's not the way you do it. The money on hand piled up in a safe or a shoebox or wherever it might be is not doing anything for our citizenry. We're supposed to be providing services in return for that money. Now, we are in a difficult time financially. It's this way across the country. It's everywhere. Locally, we can do several things. One, we have a budget of about $18 million. Now, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. We are spending $4 million a year for our jail. Now, we need a jail. I'm not going to argue with that. But what we need is to build a new jail. If we can spend $20 million and build a new jail, it will pay for itself if we build a jail that's large enough to house our prisoners, regional prisoners, state prisoners, and federal prisoners, because they'll pay us all day long to do that. We can operate at zero. That's $4 million a year we save. In 5 years, we can pay for a $20 million facility. That's unheard of. We also we also create 75 or 80 jobs locally that our community desperately needs. Desperately needs. On top of that, looking at it from a purely business standpoint, as your next judge executive, what I want to do is go out here and recruit industry. You think we're going to recruit industry to our community if we don't have a hospital? That's the end of the conversation. When you sit down with some CEO of a major multi-million-dollar company and you're trying to entice him to move his company to Barbourville, Kentucky, and to bring 30, 40, 50, 60 middle to upper level management people with him, that people that are making a good paycheck, they got a family to raise, and he's going to tell them, I'm moving my operation to Barbourville, and guess what? You don't have a hospital. That's the end of it. We have to save that hospital. We need our hospital because the health care, the jobs, and the future. And at the present time, our hospital, I think, is $26 million in debt, according to the latest in the newspaper. I've run over those figures for so long, my mind is shot. I remember when that jail was built, or that hospital was built, and it was $8 million. And then cost overruns ran it up to about 12. And then we went through 3 terms now, 3 administrations, and now we're suddenly $26 million in debt. And we got a present judge executive who can sit at a table in a debate with me and tell everybody that everything is going good at the hospital. It's doing good. We're $26 million in debt, and we're losing $200,000 a month. Now, that's not going good, folks. Not when we started out with an $8 million facility. It cannot possibly service that debt. So, there is a lot of things we can do. One, as I say, we can build a new jail. We can save $4 million a year. That's $4 million a year that we can use to get our hospital under control, get it down to a manageable figure, and move forward. We can also tighten our belts. I know I'm over 3 minutes, but you'll be fine. We can tighten our belts, folks. We don't have a transparent government at this point in time, so it's difficult to look at the books and see what we're spending. But I can tell you this, we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on road work through family. We're spending money through our judge's family for road work. We've got to trim the fat, tighten the budget. If we can do something ourselves for $100, We don't need to pay somebody else $200 to do it. We've got equipment, we've got operators, we need to be doing it ourselves. But we can tighten our belts and trim the fat, and financially, we'll be fine.
Thank you, sir. Mr. West, one of the duties of mayor is to be responsible to the taxpayers for money taken in and then spent responsibly. Do you have a plan to do so?
Yeah, I'm already doing it. One of the things is to be open to the people. When you're creating a budget, to be a little bit more detailed in what you're going to be spending. You know, the mayor, once a budget is approved by city council for that fiscal year, the mayor has complete control of that budget. Unlike the judge executive, where everything that is spent has to be voted on by the fiscal court at some point or another. The city council doesn't have any control over. So in other words, if there's a budget for office supplies and there's $1,200 in office supplies, I can go out and buy $1,200 worth of coffee cups if I really wanted to, but I'm not going to. That's what we ran into the last 7 years. Complete mismanagement. And we had a councilman who sat on there and just watched it happen and didn't say a darn thing about it. So we have mismanagement of money. So my goal is to make it a little bit better. And to make it a little bit better, I also like a little input. In case you didn't know, I did a couple of town hall meetings since I've become mayor, and I like to get people's input about what we're spending this money on. At my town hall meetings, we had things such as spending money on spraying for mosquitoes. Well, I made a few phone calls, and we're able to spray for mosquitoes in Barbourville for free 3 separate times. Now, that's your money in your left pocket or your right pocket, but it didn't come out of Barbourville's money, it came out of the state money. So as far as I'm concerned, it's free. So we're able to go out and to spend money and to do things that are a little bit more appropriate for the city. One of the things I did, which I got a little flack over, was to take all the garbage cans out of the RV park. Well, how many RV parks do you people go to? I don't go to RV parks, that's why I say you people, but how many RV parks do people go to? And there's garbage cans right at your doorstep. I've talked to several different RV parks, that doesn't happen. At least not much. So what we're looking at is slowly and incrementally putting those garbage cans back, but doing it in a cost-effective way. So it makes a lot better sense to go about to do things that are, you think yourself about it, about what you're doing, and then you also ask other people. You just don't go at it. Just because I'm the head executive of the city doesn't mean I go ask for other people's opinions. I do. Because, what my opinion is might not exactly be right, and somebody else might have a good idea as well. So in spending your money, I want to do it just like a household budget. If you don't have enough money for groceries, well, you go get a few less groceries. Or you put a little bit back for a little rainy day. Well, I don't know how many rainy days we have, but it's good to spend it on things that are well funded and well needed. One more thing, I know I'm going a little bit long, I'm trying to match Mike. For the last 20 years, we've had a water park. That water park for the last 20 years has not been repaired. Has not been kept up with. We've had repairs after repairs, Band-Aids after Band-Aids on all the things from different pumps, from different, carpet on the ramps as you walk up and down. So this past year I spent money and we bought 2 different two different pumps, brand new pumps, first times I've had them in 20 years. And so instead of putting Band-Aids on things, we're going to try to fix them. And yeah, it looks like a lot of money's been spent at the park, but when you spend money on new things, it costs a little bit extra. But in the long run, it'll be a whole lot better.
Thank you, sir. We'll have 2 more regular questions, and then we'll take 2 from the audience. Not 2, but the others from the audience. Excuse me. No, we're taking more than 2. All right, to both of you, since you were the last person to answer the question, sure. Who has the responsibility to bring jobs to Barbourville?
Everybody. Everybody has jobs. Everybody has that responsibility. It's kind of like when you go to church and they look at the preacher and they say, well, it's your job to bring in people. Well, what about the rest of the congregation? Isn't it their job to bring in people? The same thing looking at the mayor or the judge executive. We're the guys, we're the people out there who's out front. We're kind of like the front lines. But listen, just like I've said in my town hall meetings, government cannot always fix every problem. It takes individuals, it takes entrepreneurs. It takes people who want business. You know, if you want a bowling alley in Barbourville, great. Go find yourself, look online for how to build a bowling alley and go get one. Or if you want a movie theater, the same way. You know, Larry, he didn't depend much on government to get in the hotel here. He went and built one. I mean, it's the same idea. And helping you to do that, I've contacted Kentucky Highlands Investment Corporation out of London, who is doing a wonderful job in our entire region for helping people to create jobs. One of the things that they're nice enough to do is, in talking with them, is they're including, Kentucky Investment Corporation is including Barbourville in a grant that they're applying for that covers an entrepreneurial training center. It will give us an entrepreneurial training center. What that means is, if you're interested in being an entrepreneur, if you're interested in how you start a business, how you run a business, how you get the money, how you get the books to work for your business, this training center will help you. It'll pick up right where you left off if you happen to leave for a few days and come back. It'll help you pick up where you left off so that you can learn how to be an entrepreneur. This is something that I'm working with Highlands in order for us to create. Another thing, working with Highlands, is business incubation. I don't know if you ever heard of that term, but business incubation is something that they do there in London and they're wanting to do here in Barbourville. It's something that I've asked them to bring here, and that's where they lease a building. So that's part of our downtown that will be leased. It's empty buildings. That's one thing I'm trying to get at, is to lease our empty buildings. They'll lease an empty building. So if you're wanting to go into law, or you're wanting to make widgets, whatever it might be, you can go to this business incubation and they will assist you in doing what you're wanting to create. And they'll give you the help for that. So in trying to do what we need to do to make things better, I think I'm going to leave it as a charge for all of you to keep. I mean, yes, as mayor, I can be leading that charge, but it's a charge for all of us to keep.
Thank you, sir. So who is responsible for bringing jobs to this area?
I think it should be a community effort. One of the things that we have to do to attract business to our county is we need to create a business-friendly environment. County judge cannot do that. It takes everybody to do that. County judge needs to be a leader. He needs to be up front, recruiting industry to our county. I'm willing to take on that responsibility. I know where the governor's office is. I know where Secretary Hayes' office is in the Department of Commerce. I work for EKSEP, the Eastern Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program. It's based in Hazard, Kentucky. If you all aren't familiar with that agency, it is a jobs agency, a federal agency. I worked there for 2 years. I was Special Projects Coordinator. Their sole responsibility is to recruit jobs and industry to the mountains of Eastern Kentucky. So I know where these people live. I know how to get in touch with them. I know how to package and market our county. Now, it will take an effort on everybody's part, because you can't make it business friendly if you don't have the cooperation of the people.
Thank you. When we get to the audience questions, there will be a 2-minute time limit for the essence of time, because we are working on 45 minutes now. All right, gentlemen, to both of you, what would you say your supporters would say about you? Mr. Warren, you go first.
If it's family, I probably can't repeat that. I think, and I would hope that my supporters would say one thing, that I'm straight up, that I'll tell you how it is, whether it's good or whether it's bad. If it's good, I'm the first person there to tell you, and if it's bad, I'm the first person there to help you get it right. It's just that simple. We can't solve problems if we're not willing to take a look at them.
What would your supporters say of you?
I'm still thinking. I think they would say that I'm honest. They would say that the time I spent in the treasurer's office for the county, that the books were all good there. As far as the way the books, as far as everything balancing out. As far as being around the community, I am a community person. 2003 member of Leadership Tri-County, the president of the Chamber of Commerce for 2 years, vice president for a couple, still on the board of directors. Helped found the Kentucky Harvest organization that would help bring food to our food pantry and also to our schools. And they would also say that I'm someone of conviction when it comes to our county, when it comes to our city. Someone who takes great pride and great care of what we have here in Barbourville and Knox County, and even the Corbin end. People mention I used to travel around the world with a job I had with Track, and I always mention where I'm from. And from there, people would always say, well, that's such a small town, don't you want to move to a different place? And I'd say no, because I love where I'm at. And the people here are great. The jobs here are more needed, but they'll come. And hopefully, it'll come very soon.
All right, there'll be a 2-minute time limit on the audience answers. At 30 seconds, I will say 30 seconds. I will not cut these men off abruptly. I will be kind enough to wait until they take a breath or until they're finished with their thoughts. All right, now some of these questions are for the candidates themselves and not for both. And because we are not in a debate forum, we're just in a forum, I will ask each that is appropriate with the questions that have been asked of the audience. To the mayor candidate. What improvements have you made since becoming mayor other than raise prices at the water park?
First of all, I didn't raise prices at the water park. The prices that were raised were done from last year, and from the mayor last year approving those raised prices at the water park. In fact, talking to the recreation board just last week, we are going back, talking to the council. The recommendation is to lower those prices back down to, I believe, $8 and $6. And just got to get the council to go along with that at next week's meeting. So that is something that's on there, is actually lowering the prices that I did not raise to begin with. What was the rest of the question? Sorry.
That's okay, no problem. What improvements have you made since becoming mayor other than raise prices?
Well, yes, improvements. Well, saving taxpayer dollars is kind of a big thing for me. For instance, I put a stop to the street department mowing private lawns. That might be beneficial to some people who didn't get their private lawns mowed by the city in years past. I did put a stop to that so that we can save some taxpayer money. Again, trying to be a little bit more transparent than what we've had in the past. We've also worked with tourism, worked with adventure tourism, actually created that position of adventure tourism, putting some people on the board, Tamara and Scott, putting them new faces, new ideas on the board, and so adventure tourism has really taken off, and there's a lot more ideas coming down the pike through that. Other things that I've done to improve is moving people around and moving some employees around, making overlapping jobs not necessary. Also taking out some equipment that we've had some excessive equipment, so taking those out. So it's a little bit cheaper. You know, $1 here, $1 there, and eventually it adds up.
Thank you. Specifically for Mr. Warren, will you as judge be fair to all magistrates, not just one or two?
I did not raise prices at the water park. We're all sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah, first of all, you got 5 magistrates in the county. You got 5 districts. Every one of them's in Knox County. It's just that simple. And I know in times past, I have friends here tonight, supporters here tonight, who have served as magistrates in our county. And I know they've suffered from that very concept or ideal. Kind of holding them at ransom, in a sense, for equipment and for work and what have you. And you got to understand, everybody lives in Knox County. Every magistrate is representing Knox County. And whether it be a magistrate that may be politically supportive of me, or whether it might be my worst enemy, it doesn't make any difference. It's not for him, it's for the people of his district. So, yes, I would be fair.
Mr. Warren, since you were the last one to answer, this is for both candidates. What, if any, plans do you have to help families, especially our children, outside at school, to make sure they are not cold or hungry when there is no school due to a weather or school break? It takes a village to raise a child, not just the families and the resource centers. Mr. Warren.
Well, I think first of all, you have to enlist the community's help. You have to enlist your churches. You know, I personally go to a church where we have a really good youth group on Wednesday night. It's a small church, but we do 90 to 100 kids on Wednesday night, and we feed them every Wednesday night. And one of the things that was called to my attention in our church was that if we don't feed these children, some of them will not eat. So it is a responsibility. If you are a Christian, it is a responsibility. It's got nothing to do with the government, but we all need to reach down and share. Now, as to the county's involvement, you know, we have family resource centers all around the county. The county can get involved, can actually get involved in a financial sense for every single one of those resource centers, just like we do for our volunteer firefighters and our constables and every other volunteer that we have in the county. We can get involved and we can help financially.
Thank you, sir. Same question, Mr. West. What, if any, plans do you have to help families, especially our children outside of school, to make sure they're not cold or hungry when there is no school due to a weather or school break? It does take a village to raise a child, not just the families and the resource centers.
Since 2007, I mentioned before and several times Kentucky Harvest Southeast, which, by the way, is a part of Kentucky Harvest that was founded up in Louisville. That organization just in itself, when I was president and chairman of that organization for a number of years, we started things like the challenges in the school system, where you bring cans of food, and we had that for every grade school. For the last 3 years, we've had it at Union, not only at Union, but all the colleges around us, whether it be Somerset Community, Southeast, Cumberland, EKU, Berea. All these schools compete for what's called the Golden Can. And that's something I set up about 3 years ago with the service project coordinator over at Union. And what that is, again, is bringing in canned food. And we take those canned food, what do we do with that canned food? Well, we take it down to the pantry down on Black Street, West Knox Street. And we take it to that food pantry so that people who come on Tuesdays, people who come on Thursdays, people who get the hot meals on Saturdays, last 2 Saturdays of the month, people who qualify, they can get that food. What else have I done? Well, so far, we've been involved with Flat Lick, and we'd like to get involved with other schools as far as the backpack program. Been doing that for the last 4 years. And the neat thing about that, and the reason we chose Flat Lick, is because it was the school that had the highest free lunch program.
30 seconds, sir.
And so with that, we had the backpack program. Now, as far as the city, what we can do, we can ask our employees to help, to bring food in. Now, can we spend taxpayer dollars as far as we're concerned to help feed the people? That's something I have to check with our attorneys on, because there's just certain things that you can't spend taxpayer dollars on. But what we can, we certainly will.
Excellent, thank you. All right, back to Mr. West. Will you be continuing the recycling program as it has been in the past, and will the city be doing Shop with a Cop?
The recycling program has got to change. It can't keep going the way it's going. If it does, we'll lose it. And that's something I definitely don't want. We got to change the format. We got to change the way the volunteers are structured. That's something I'm working toward. Working with the KTAP workers, and you know, it doesn't always have to be KTAP workers. In fact, this past Saturday, I had the Junior Beta Club, some members from the Junior Beta Club at Barbourville come and help me to sort 3 of those large bins that you see around the city. We sorted those and baled those with cardboard and plastic and paper and bottles. And we took those, and what I'm saying is that we can use more and more volunteers there at the recycle center. So it does have to change, and when it changes, it'll make it for a lot better. Look at the city of Corbin. Look at Knox County. The way that they do their recycle center is the way that I'm looking to do ours, to make it a little bit better, to make it more efficient. Because the way it's done, I mean, to be honest with you, the heating source that's used for this winter, the heating source that's always been used, is one of those heating, I believe they're called lizards. It's a large furnace type thing that's movable. You know, that's not a good way to have workers in there in that kind of environment. But I'm looking to make it a little bit better, and with your all's help, I certainly will. I'm looking for organizations to come help as well.
And is the Shop with a Cop program still going to continue?
The Shop with the Cop program, Winston Ty is our chief of police, and as far as I'm concerned, it will continue.
All right, thank you. We just have a few more questions from the audience. Mr. Warren, what do you plan to do to entice companies to bring their businesses, thus bringing jobs, to Knox County? 2 minutes, sir.
Well, I think I have somewhat covered that, but as I said, I will hire an industrial recruiter. We must market our county. So we need a young professional that not only can travel and talk to these companies, but they also need some promotional skills. We have to market our county. We have to be attractive, and we do. We have assets in our county. We have a lot of problems, but we have assets, and when it comes to salesmanship, and that's really what we're doing, we're selling ourselves to the rest of the world. We have to accentuate the positives, as the old song says, and we do have some advantages. We have a tremendous workforce. I believe that we have a work ethic beyond, as I say, reproach. We simply need to band together as a community. We need to impress upon these companies that first of all, Knox Countyans will work. And we're ready, willing, and able to work. So, as far as what we can do to bring companies in, first thing we got to do is go ask them. We got to try, and we're not doing that now. So, I feel like we can compete. It's difficult. We may be, we may go after a factory, and there may be 500 towns in America trying to get that same factory.
30 seconds, sir.
If we're persistent, if we continue, we'll get our share.
Looks like this is for both gentlemen. If elected, what type of jobs will you bring to Knox County so that people of color won't have to leave Barbourville to find work? There is no one of color that works in downtown or in the banks, etc. We'll go back to you, sir. Mr. Warren.
Well, first of all, I don't see color. Okay?
But some do.
Yes, they do, Sharon. But I don't see color. And if you've got, if we've got employers that are narrow-minded enough to see color when it comes to hiring, that's between them and their maker. I can't speak for them. But anytime we're recruiting industry to our county, one major factor is always going to be tax incentives, tax breaks, things that government can do to benefit a business. One hand kind of washes the other. We have to do a good job. We have to do due diligence. We don't need to be out here recruiting companies that have that does not have a equal opportunity policy. So we have to be kind of picky. We're desperate, but again, we have to be a little bit picky. We don't need that in our community.
Thank you. Mr. West, if elected, what type of jobs will you bring to Knox County or to Barbourville, that people of color won't have to leave Barbourville to find work? There's no one of color that works in downtown or in the banks, etc.
One thing that was noted to me earlier this week is Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson, of course, I grew up his greatest basketball player. One of the things that he's doing since leaving the game itself, of course, he's behind the desk now and doing a lot of business work for the team, but he's also doing a lot of entrepreneurial work for people of color. So that's one thing. Hey, why not email him? Why not email David Robinson, who is also my favorite basketball player growing up? And emailing these two gentlemen in particular and seeing if we can get a meeting together. The reason I mention that is because they are high profile.
Yes.
Who cares about small little Barbourville? People in this room do. I certainly do. And they should. Because it's another way to bring into businesses people of color. mean, look, there's no sense in saying black or white or red or yellow. We're all people.
Amen.
But with that, people do, for some reason, have this little tendency to maybe overlook that, or to maybe pay attention more than they should. And so, like these gentlemen I just mentioned, that is their key goal right now, is to bring people of color jobs, and wherever that might be. So, to contact them and to say, listen, we got some people here who need jobs. Whether they're black or white, we need jobs. So, you know, if you're going to bring in 10 black people and 3 white people, that's okay too. I mean, we just want people to have jobs here. So it really doesn't matter in looking at that. Except for, you know, you asked the question, so I answered it. I'm going after these people because these people care about folks and minorities getting jobs.
The next few are from Mr. Warren, so you can just take a little sip there.
Thank you.
Be back with
Appreciate it.
All right.
Diabetic habit.
I understand. All right. Mr. Warren, you spoke about transparency in the Judge Executive's office. Will you, as the executive, publish the agenda of fiscal court meetings prior to the meetings?
Most definitely. Not only will I do that, but one of the first things I would like to do as Judge Executive, you know, at the present time, we have a fiscal court meeting in the mornings. I would like to double those meetings, have one a month in the morning and one in the evening. So many people, working people, are committed from 7 to 3 or 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, and they can't make a fiscal court meeting. And to a great extent, those are the people we need in that meeting, because that's the people that's carrying our community. They're working people. So as far as publishing the agenda, absolutely. I might add, Brian, I see no necessity to require you to come to the courthouse and get on the agenda before you can come to a meeting and discuss something. Meetings should be open to the public, and if you've got a problem, you need to be there in the meeting and bring it up. If our fiscal court and our judge cannot address those issues, again, we go back to the issue of transparency.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a question that was directed to you, Mr. Warren, but I'm also going to apply it to Mr. West. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask him the question first,
Sure.
okay?
These are tough ones too. Yours is easy.
All right.
Don't steal my answers.
Why do you feel that your opponents are a no-show at this debate/forum?
Pretty simple. They have no issues to discuss. They have absolutely nothing to talk about because they have no record. They have a record, maybe you could call it a record. I mean, they show up and they did, you know, to work every now and then and did a few things, but what really did they do? They sat back and, you know, how could we say it? Well, let's just say if you go to the auditor's website, the state auditor's website, you can see what's been going on the last 7 years, and you can see one councilman in particular who sat back and did absolutely nothing. Now, when I came on as councilman myself, along with Ronnie Moore and Sherman Lawson, first thing I did was to call the state auditor's office. I was there, less than 3 weeks and called. That phone call could have been made a long time ago, and it wasn't. Why are they not here? They don't want to hear what went on in the audit. They don't want to rehash that. They think that's old news. They think it's to even hear the former mayor say, "Oh, it's just a slap on the hand, and it really wasn't worth anything." Believe me, it wasn't a witch hunt. It was a chance for our people to get our city back.
Mr. Warren, in your opinion, why do you think that your opponent, Mr. Hall, is a no-show?
Well, I think, first of all, to show up here tonight and discuss the issues, excuse me, with the citizens would be a mistake on his part. Most of the issues that we are facing, the critical issues that we are facing in Knox County, are the direct result of the ineptitude of Judge Hall. So he doesn't want to be here to discuss the problems that he created. Secondly, I think it goes obviously to the issue, again, of transparency. He doesn't want to sit here and answer questions any more than he wants to open his books and let us see what's going on.
All right, back to Mr. Warren. We're only down to 3 more questions. Mr. Warren will have 1, and there's actually 1 for Mr. West as well, and then 2 for both of you. Mr. Warren, do you have a plan for bringing jobs to Knox County? Specifically, how will you work with state and national agencies?
Well, I think, a lot has been said recently about some of the national agencies. I'll be quite honest with you. We have the SOAR that was created by Congressman Rogers and Governor Beshear and some other people, and it does have some potential. But that organization has had about 6 meetings. They met for about 3 days in Pikeville, Kentucky, when they were initially formed. And to my knowledge, the only person from Knox County, Kentucky, that attended anything to do with SOAR was Denise Wainscott. Our judge executive and none of his staff ever showed. Now, there is some great potential in that SOAR project. It is an organization, a partnership formed to promote the mountains of Kentucky, to bring jobs in here, to help our community in every way possible. So there is some access there. There is some other programs out there, the Promise Zone or the Enterprise Zone, and I don't look upon that with a lot of favor. The money is very narrow, limited, and for the most part, it seems to be controlled by our congressman. It's almost as if you have to be in that circle in order to access that money. It is for private business. It's not for governments. But for my part, I think we start with the contacts that we have in state government. We have a Secretary Hayes that's his job to help. And, we just recently landed...
20 seconds, sir.
We landed some jobs in Corbin, the COA plant. Those were the direct result of a trip to Japan by Governor Beshear and Secretary Hayes. So we need to tie in with them. I mentioned earlier about the Tri-County Alliance, or a block of the 3 counties. We have a voice. If we can tie in with them, we can go to Frankfurt and we can get some help.
Thank you. I've not given the audience the opportunity to ask questions personally. The only reason being is so that both candidates will be treated fairly, but I hope it's okay if I ask this question. Okay. This is for Mr. West. While working at the county office with Mr. Hall, did you see the purchase orders that Mr. Dennis Gibson has worked so hard to obtain from Mr. Hall?
The purchase orders? Yeah, there's purchase orders. There's a ledger that, just the same thing as we publish on our website, the city, a vendor ledger. There's the same thing at the city. It just takes to print it out.
So the answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. For both gentlemen, if re-elected as an official, or if elected as an official, what can we as a community expect to see done, or the ability to be done, about our family jobs, small business in the area, jobs run by families or been family owned for years? I'll go to Mr. West first.
How do we get away from that? Is that what the question is?
I'll ask it one more time.
Okay.
If re-elected or elected as an official, what can we as a community expect to see done, or the ability to be done, about our family jobs, small business in the area, jobs run by families or have been family owned for years?
I don't expect, and I don't expect you all, in the next 4 years, for us to get companies that are the size of Tico, the size of Truesdale. I don't expect that. Now, if we do, that'd be great. Don't get me wrong. What I'm after is small business. I'm a small business owner. My wife and I have ran an online company for the last 3 years, selling items as a retailer. And we've done fairly well at that. but again, it's another job. What we'd like to do is to create small jobs through our city, either through the Industrial Authority, which again has been blocked so far, but thankfully to tourism and the Main Street project, we can go this route. And what we're looking at doing is for the city itself. I've asked the League of Cities, which is kind of the body made up of all the cities in the state, and we have our own legal representation, and they do policy and that kind of thing. So I've asked them, I said, can a city have a company? Well, the city itself is a company. So with that, we can, like we have the utility commission, like we have a water park, the city can create jobs. Now, it has not been done in the state, they tell me. But I have seen other states where this has been done, and it will work, where the city can actually go out and create jobs. Now, I talked about earlier about, government can't necessarily go help. We want the people to go help. We want you to build your own bowling alley. We want you to build your own dress shop. But there are plans out there that I have that actually calls for the city to do this. The people at the League of Cities said this is an innovative idea. It's something that no law says we cannot do it, so we're going to do it. We're looking to revitalize downtown. We're looking to take all the buildings that are downtown that are empty. There are brownfield grants out there to get the asbestos out of some of the old buildings. There's grants out there that we're going to be applying for. There's also other opportunities to apply for, to purchase or to lease buildings. And people are kind of leery about purchasing a building at the city, but don't worry. If that's done under my watch, then we'll make sure that the city pays back, or the section of the city that controls that, whether it be tourism or whoever, will pay back the city the same amount in taxes. So we won't lose the tax base, but instead we'll gain businesses.
Thank you, sir. If elected as an official, what can we as a community expect to see done, or the ability to be done, about our family jobs, small businesses in the area, jobs run by families who have been family-owned for years?
If I understand the question correctly, let me say this. Small businesses all over America, for that matter all over the world, are taking a beating. A lot of people want to sit around and blame it on our government. But the bottom line is small businesses are taking a beating all over the world because of this so-called Walmart economy. Small business can't compete with Walmart Supercenter. It's just that simple. Now, I remember the old days when I was a kid and you went around the square and there was a restaurant or a dress shop or something on every corner. Now you go around the square and you see offices like Brandon West. You see lawyers, but you don't see businesses anymore, So I would love to see those days again. But the only way we get there is we bring in business. We bring in jobs. If there's jobs in our community, then there's a demand for those small family-owned businesses, and you guys can just open all the businesses that you want, and you can prosper. Now, I was here this morning. They had a rally here for our senatorial candidate, and I had the pleasure of talking to Martha Lane Collins, our former governor. And, she told me something this morning. She said, we were talking about the Toyota plant that she was instrumental in getting in Georgetown. But she said, when we get the new addition to that plant, when we get the Lexus plant tied into the operations in Georgetown, it will be the single biggest automobile manufacturing concern in the world. Not in the United States, not in Kentucky, but in the world. In our state, all over the state of Kentucky, we have prospered from offshoots and subcontractors for that Toyota plant. So I hope if we've got our game face on and we can get up to Frankfurt and get involved, we can land some of those new plants.
Thanks, sir. This will be the last question for this forum for both of you. Back to Mr. Warren, how would you go about spreading the contracted jobs around instead of one or two companies doing everything?
Well, first of all, we have to bid our jobs out. At the present time, my understanding is that the company that got the bid for road work has yet to do any road work. Someone else is doing it. I also understand that based upon statutory limitations, you only have to bid if a job reaches a certain monetary amount. So I think the present administration has made it a habit of breaking down jobs into 2 or 3 different phases, and instead of hiring you to do a job that's going to cost $20,000, instead they hire you to come in and do $8,000 worth of tile work, and then they hire the same company to come in and do $4,000 in transportation or rock hauling or gravel hauling, so they circumvent the ideal of competitive bidding process. Now, what I would like to do is you competitively bid your projects. First of all, we want to eliminate as much of that as we can because we want to do our own work. It's your money. It may not seem fair to you if you're a contractor, but if I can do the job with our personnel and our equipment for $100, why do we need to pay somebody else $200? So we'll save some money there. Okay, but secondly, with competitive bidding process, when you arrive at a bid price, I don't care what it is, if you're digging ditches and the low bid is $50 an hour, then you set that as your bid price. And everybody that bid and every single business in the county that didn't bid, if they're interested in that, you can say, here's the bid price. Are you interested in doing this work for $50 an hour? If you are, we'll put you on the roster and we'll rotate you.
How would you go about spreading the contracted jobs around instead of 1 or 2 companies doing everything, Mr. West?
One thing that I've already done is to got up with Fleet One. Fleet One's a company that you can use as a charge card at most gas stations. So instead of taking the fuel to only one gas station, which was done in the past, I ordered the fleet cards. So now we can go to all gas stations that accept fleet cards, and then our police officers can kind of go wherever they want to. Our street department can go wherever they want to as far as taking fuel. The bid process, we don't have that much as far as, $20,000 worth of work out of one person or one company. But what I can do, and what probably should be done, is to make that a little bit more transparent. And in fact, I will make that more transparent if someone wants to come in and say, how much is X, Y, and Z company bidding on doing sidewalks, for instance. If we're not able to do our own sidewalks, which, by the way, we are able to do our own sidewalks, so I was just using that as an example. But one thing that we are looking at and we are doing a lot more of is doing our own work. I'm looking at training mechanic for our street department, so that when the equipment goes down, that we can have someone trained there to be able to do the job. There's not a whole lot of sense in contracting much work out and spending a little bit more money when you can do it in-house.
Thank you, sir. Well, this is the opportunity for both of the candidates to have their closing statements. We'll relegate it to 2 minutes. And again, before we leave, I do want to say that invitations were sent out to all of the candidates. They had the opportunity to be here to voice their concerns to you as well as you question them. And because they're not here, you can base your vote on that participation or choose not to. Just run on what's important to you, which is the issues. We're going to start with Mr. Warren. You have 2 minutes. Sir, is your closing statement.
Well,
thank you.
Let me say this. I've really enjoyed this. I think it's a tremendous opportunity, not only for you folks, but a tremendous opportunity for Darren and myself to be able to solicit your vote, support. I hope that what we've done tonight, I hope if you're here and you're not for me, I hope I've convinced you to at least consider that. I've enjoyed it tremendously. I want to say this about Darren. About 30 years ago, I had a softball team, and I was about the same size I am now, and Darren was 12, and he's about the same size he is now. He had hair then, but I don't recall ever having a kid play for me any more well-behaved and mannerly than Darren West, and he has not changed in all these years. I really, truly mean that. And again, I would leave you with this. When you go in to vote on November the 4th, vote your conscience. This is an opportunity for us to make a change in our county that is long overdue. It is crucial that we make this change. Thank you so much.
You know, I will have to say it was not hardly 30 years ago, but it was I'm only 37. It was fun playing on Mike's Boys. It really was fun playing on Mike's Boys. It was fun traveling, going to Georgia and Tennessee, different places, playing softball. That was a great enjoyment, and that was a chance that to make new friends that I wouldn't have probably otherwise made of people here, and Mike was one of those. And I do appreciate that. Now, as far as people not showing up, people not voting, I'm not going to talk about that. You already know why they're not here. You can guess that in your own mind. What I want to talk about is why I want you to vote for me. I want you to vote for me because I have plans. I think I've stated some of those plans as to how we can grow our city and make our city stronger. You know, this is the county seat. And once the capital gets stronger, then the rest of the county will get stronger as well. We're trying to go about things a little bit differently, a little bit innovatively, a little bit outside the box maybe, by not doing the traditional, oh, woe is me, and please come here, I want you to work in my city. We're going after these businesses. We're actively looking for recruitment, either on the tourism side, through adventure tourism. They've been looking at some companies that could come here. And then also in my office, where I've been looking for other businesses to come here. It takes a joint effort from all of us. And I'd like to ask all of you, if you think of any businesses that you would like to see, whether it's Campbell Soup or Nike or any other group you might see, just go down the aisles of your stores and see a company and you know, write them or have me to write them. You know, until we start throwing things out there and start throwing bait out to, you know, we can't catch fish if you don't throw bait out there. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make things better. So certainly November 4th, I ask that you'd vote for me, Darren West, and keep leading with integrity.
Before we leave, I do want to ask both of you a question. Do both of you feel that you were treated fairly in this forum?
Yes.
Yes, very much so.
Except for Mike saying I didn't have much hair.
Actually,
And they call me old.
this is really kind of a new experience to be treated fairly in a debate. But, yeah, it's kind of nice.
Of course, I want to thank Parkway Service Center. I want to thank Premier Parties. We'll have Alan come up here in just one moment. We're also going to hear from a few candidates who are here that we'd like to recognize. And I want to thank the folks who have taken care of the sound. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of your electoral process here in government.